Hey, Danny.
Hello there. Hello there. Can you hear me?
How you doing tonight? Nice to see you.
It's great to see you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you
All right,
definitely
good.
very well. Yeah, it's
Good.
always good to have you in the building. We were off to a little bit of a rocky start here with some technical issues, but we're gonna keep it moving because we always do
That's
that.
it. That's it.
Yeah, but I'm so glad to
Look,
have you on board today. So we had a lot of artists coming on board, a lot of poets, and I know you were also a former pro boxer, and you also kind of dabbled in the music industry. So I'd love for you to provide some gems about how to stay consistent, how to be persistent, and what do you think in terms of artists and how they're getting their career going? Being a former athlete, what were some of the things that you did for yourself? So I'm gonna leave you to it. The stage is all yours because I know you're a dynamic speaker.
well, I mean, listen, if you want to do this like interview style, we could do it interview style if you want. Like, I mean,
Sure.
have,
Everyone
however you,
likes interview style, so yeah, why not? Let's do that.
yeah, I don't mind. I mean, just to give, like, I always like to give a background on me before, going in anything. Just so people can have a good understanding of like who I am, where I'm from, what qualifies me to be able to talk about things like this. So I've been on my own since about 14. I grew up in the streets, grew up rough. For those that don't know anything about me, this is why I'm saying this. And I found my way into boxing at 17. Just I was a street guy. Um, from just troubled childhood, drugs, violence, you name it, I did it. And boxing saved my life. I got into the sport at 17. First time I stepped foot in the gym, and I fell in love with the sport from that moment going forward. Um, and the first business that I had, if we're gonna, since we're talking about music, was in the music industry. But it led me. I ended up dabbing in the music industry through my boxing career. I had an 18-year career. I mean, I was a, I mean, we talk about former professional, but I mean, you're talking about I was in there with the best in the world. So we're for the course of 18 years, I was connected with the best, around the best, and that just went from not only in the boxing world, but just overall, uh, you could say the entertainment space, which I connected most with, which was in the music space. Because I before I got into before when I was a kid, I played 5 instruments by ear before I learned how to read music. So that was always music was always a big thing for me. And then just to give like some backstory how I dabbed in the music industry, I was behind the scenes of an event. Actually, it was one of the Marleys. Actually, not one of them. It was we had a thing going down here. They had a thing back then called Marley Fest, and it switched to 9 Mile, and then now Steve does his own thing, Steven. But I was backstage there, and their manager who's a good friend of mine, the son of the manager, a good friend of mine now. He approached me. He had a media company. He was taking pictures, and we were in the RV, and we're just all talking. And he realized like I was a fighter, and he was like, "Man, um, let me get a few pictures of you." And we just things just started happening from there. We started talking, and he was like, "Look, I'm getting ready to start to really expand the music, not music, to expand my media company, and I'm thinking about dabbing in a bit of music." And I was like, "Man, that's right up my alley. Like I got the connections. I just pick up the phone and I make phone calls, and I can really make this thing happen and really jump off." So one thing led to another, and started the company, and took it from there. And then it's funny because you're doing an event. I mean, we did a talent search down here. It was all industries, open to all genres. Not all industries. It was over all genres of artists. Because I never really specifically focused just on one genre. I loved everything. I loved all music. So we did a talent search down here. It was for a $450,000 recording contract, and entry into another talent search we were going to do live on TV. And I brought in a ton of guests, and it was real good. It was a lot of fun. But
Yeah,
now
you're
I'm more in
definitely doing
corporate business now. But yeah, I miss it. You know.
Yeah, you definitely have a diverse background. I mean, going from a boxer to being in the music industry to now working with Grant Cardone and all those different shifts that you've had in the industry. What is some of the things that you think that have stayed constant for you? Some of those values and principles that you've brought over from each of those industries?
I would say just being genuine. Like, I've always been me. And I feel that's allowed me to connect with a lot of people. I never really look, when I was boxing, I was also doing club promotions. Let's start with that, right? So we were doing club promotions down here. So like a lot of the big things that you see happening, like a lot of the big events from people that have been around for a while, chances are they either learned from us or they worked with us at one point.
Right.
Like we were the biggest down here in Miami, and all like I mean, I remember when Khaled was doing underground stuff, and he was coming to he was in the club scene before he was even on the radio. And then it led to him going on the radio. I remember Uncle Luke used to always come to the clubs that we were doing and we were promoting. We had a huge following in just my mentor at that time. He was very big on wanting to, because we gravitated a lot to, this was his philosophy, right? This was his dream, you could say, which was mainly for hip hop and for the streets. He wanted to have something where people weren't on the streets having to worry about what they were worried about, like whether they were selling drugs and whatever the case was. They, for one night at least out of the week, they could actually go someplace and have a good time. And that's what we had. That's what we had created, and that's what ended up happening. So we had a huge following. So we would do clubs every night. I would say it was at one point every night of the week we had a club, and we
Wow.
and that crowd followed us. And artists used to always come to the clubs and perform. We do album release parties. We do mixtape release parties. So like a lot of the big hip hop artists that you saw in Miami, they came through our clubs, and we used to, at one point or another, we put them on the scene. From Rick Ross to Trick Daddy to Pit, Pitbull, all these guys, DJ Khaled, and we would also book other artists like Cash Money at that time. We were the first group that actually brought them down here to Miami. They never came to Miami before we ended up booking them. We had Scarface, we had Young Buck, we had I mean, yeah, back then it was just you remember how hip hop was, and
Yeah, it was definitely not
my
like that now. Those are the
yeah,
good old
yeah,
days.
things changed, things changed. So my whole thing was I didn't really want to connect with, because I saw where I was going. I didn't really want to connect with the managers. I wanted to connect with the artists, because I was in the entertainment scene boxing at that time. I was an amateur and I was getting ready to turn pro. I knew that's what I wanted. And I was like, man, like if I connect with these guys, there's got to be something we can do. Like we're in the entertainment space, they're a lot bigger and they have a bigger name than I do. But like, how can I connect with them? What can I add, like value wise, where like we could just build like a real solid relationship? I wasn't going up to them asking for pictures, and I mean, did it happen? Yeah. But I didn't really ask him for anything. I just wanted to have like good, solid relationships and friendships, and that's what it ended up leading to. So I would connect with a lot of these artists that we would book, and I would just keep in contact with them. And whenever they came down, like we just genuinely we just hung out, had a good time, you know, just shot the shit, and just it was what it was. We had it. I mean, it just one thing led to another, and then I was always in their ear, and I was always telling them, like my whole thing is I'm going to turn pro, and I want to eventually see what it is we could do together. And they loved that. Like they loved that I was a fighter. They loved that I was genuine,
Right.
and it just things just progressed from there. And I built great relationships that really helped me later on when I started when I got into the music business. Those contacts really came in handy.
Right. And being around the music industry back then as compared to now and building those relationships, what do you see that's kind of missing now for artists, as they're building relationships with other artists? Because I kind of feel like that camaraderie and that friendship is sort of missing that big component of working together. It feels like they're more working in competition. But what do you think? Because you've been around the industry so long. from back then to now.
Things have changed. I mean, I miss the music industry. Like I've thought about, in the future maybe dabbing back into it, but so much has changed over the years. I mean, you're talking about when I had this was 2009, 2010, and I was, I mean, from 2009 to about 2012, I was in the I was real heavy in the music scene. But you're talking about, over 10 years ago. A lot's changed since then. I mean, look at social media. Things are not that, I mean, we're talking about like 2008 is when Facebook really started like getting popular
Right.
outside of the colleges. YouTube. I was able to scout talent on YouTube easily. Now it's saturated. So things have changed. As far as working together, yeah, I could see that. I could see a lot of people really out for themselves or not. The thing is, it's changed also in a good way where you don't really have to depend on the bigger labels
Right.
to uh, get attention. But the one thing that I can say is missing is a lot of people feel like they can do it themselves because they feel like they have so much more control. But the
Right.
problem is the one thing that a lot of these independent labels don't have that the bigger labels do have is the team and the infrastructure. And that's the part that lacks. Like these bigger labels, they have bigger teams, they have bigger infrastructure. It used to be back then artist development. They used to be able to mold you in a way where like you may be feeling like you'll connect with the audience this way, but they knew better. And that's what we used to do. So like I used to look at artists and I used to say, listen, they're not going to connect with you with the way that you think they are. Like we got to change things up so we could present you in a way where you'll sell. Like we have to sell you and package you in a certain way.
Right.
And some of them listened, some of them didn't. And I just feel like that's a lot's changed with that. People it's they're just more reliant on themselves instead of like you said, working together with others. And I think that's the one of the biggest thing that's missing right now.
Right, right. No, I agree with you 100% on that, definitely. And in terms of, like that consistency to keep going, because you've been on this journey as a boxer and then moving into the world of sales and entrepreneurship, what are some things that has kept you motivated to keep you going throughout your journey? Because this is what it's important for artists to learn about. Like, how do they keep going?
Um, you gotta, I mean, just have a big target, have set out a main goal. Like I think a lot of, yeah, look, if we're relating into music, I used to have a lot of artists that would come up to me and they'd be like, hey, look, I sound like this person, or I'm relatable to this, or I have a different style, and if I had to pick somebody that I sounded like or that you could compare me to, it was this. And I was like, look, I'm not looking like, not only me, like the world is not looking for another Rihanna or another Scarface or another
Right.
Tupac or another DMX or another Ti, or if you
Something
want to make it
unique
like
or
more
diverse.
current, like
Yeah.
another Migos or another, like they're looking for somebody unique, somebody that
Right.
like you don't look at a Mariah Carey, you don't say, oh, she sounds like this. Like Mariah's Mariah, Migos are
Right.
Migos, Nicki's Nicki, Minaj. Like, Cardi is Cardi. Like you can't, like, it's not, oh, this person sounds like this person, that's why I relate to them. And that's what used to frustrate me the most, you know. And the problem is like going back to what you asked, like as far as like the goal needs to be okay, like this is my objective, like this is what I want. And then from going from what I want, what do I need to get there? And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me, you know, looking forward. I don't look back. What keeps me looking forward is, the targets, my goals. Like what is it that I really want?
Right.
I talk about this all the time. People are like, I'm after the money. I'm after the money. Well, if the money's what you're after the wrong thing. Like it needs to be what the money's going to get you. not being after the money. Because once you start getting the money, then you'll realize, like, in some cases, what you're really after when it comes to the money is it ends up becoming not enough. It's kind of like a kid. Like, you give a kid will bother you, like when we were kids, like we used to bother our parents for like a toy that we wanted, or we wanted something real bad, and then finally when we get it, like 3 hours later, we're bored.
We're done.
We're done.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, you'll give your friends will come over and you'll be like, here, play with this. Like, here, it's yours. I got something new now. You can play with my old stuff.
Well, I think that's
And
because a lot of it is like the passion is gone. Like you were saying, everything's related to money now, right? So, do you feel like the passion is gone from music or for artists who are pursuing the artistry?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, and that's it's always been that. It's always been that way. Like that's what's always separated a lot of the artists that I've seen and that I've dealt with. Like, what separated the superstars from the ones who never made it was, like, the music was them. It was them. Like, it was who they were. Like, they couldn't stop thinking about it. They couldn't stop, like, it was just who they were. Then you have the non-successful ones. They just wanted the spotlight, or they just wanted the money. Like, it was
Right.
not the drive wasn't there. And that's how I knew, like, okay, this one is going to make it, and this one, nah, it's not. It's just not going to happen. I remember when American Idol was really popular, like, earlier seasons, and I used to watch it. That's how I would gauge. I would be like, you know what, this one I could see going through, this one I can't. And it was like, because you could tell who wanted it, like, really bad,
Right.
and who was just there just because they just wanted to be famous, or
Right.
they liked music, but they didn't love music. Music was not them.
Right. You gotta have that hunger and that passion for it. That's what we've been saying for this whole open mic night. A lot of people have been repeating that. We need to get that passion back. How do you think you can ignite the passion, Danny, for some of these artists coming on board or creatives?
It's got to connect with you. Look, you know, part of the reason why I do business the way I do it is because my whole goal is to help people. Like, that's always been my objective. So money is a big factor because I can't help a lot of people if I'm not making a lot of money.
Right.
And I'm not talking about, I mean, like, look, I own and operate now three businesses. My consulting business, which is the primary one. I have a acquisition company with a partner of mine. We're a group, and we buy companies. And the other one's a seminar and workshop business. My consulting business, I have over 100 people on my team and growing. I want thousands of people to work for me, because those thousands of people are people's lives that I'm contributing to. They have families, so I'm not only supporting them, but I'm also supporting their families and their life and what they want. So, not to mention the customers that all the customers that we have, and future customers. Like, these are, in some cases, Fortune 500s down to companies doing, 3 million, but they have employees and they have people and they have families, so, like, my impact is so much more bigger than just me. So
Right.
I'm not in it for me. I'm in it for everybody else, and I want to help a lot of people. But again, my drive is, in order to help a lot of people, I need a lot of money to do that. Um, the passion, it's got to come from the person. What do you really want? Like, because if you're in the music business just because you want to make some money, and just because you you enjoy music, but it's not really you, it's going to show, and the
Right.
fans will never connect with you.
Right. And I think that's a big piece that's missing is the connection. I was talking to an artist yesterday on Clubhouse, I believe it was, and he was talking so much about connecting with his own community where he lives first. And I thought that was amazing because not many people do that. To encourage artists to connect within their own local community first is probably a really good thing to do. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you connect with who you connect with. I mean, you can go to it's hit or miss, you know. It's hit or miss because sometimes when you go to your old community, you got a bunch of haters,
That's true too. That's
they're
a good point.
they're mad. They're mad that you know that you're trying to push yourself, or that you've gotten a bit further along. Like I remember
Did you experience
Pitbull.
that as
He
a boxer?
What's that?
Did you experience that as a boxer in your career, going back into your own community and people looking at you and saying, "Hey, Danny got out. He did his thing," and then they,
No, I mean I've lost, I mean I've lost friends, and I've lost, people close, and yeah,
right,
as you transition and as you grow, it happens. You don't think the same. You don't have the same, goals anymore. Things change, viewpoints
right,
change. I mean, you just grow. You outgrow. Sometimes you outgrow people. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you grow together. Sometimes you just outgrow. Like we connect with the people we're most in agreement with, and that's what a lot of, I mean, that's the truth. You're closest with the family members that you're closest with are the ones that you agree with the most on
right,
viewpoints. Your friends, your closest friends, are the ones that you can relate to the most.
right.
So, like,
I'm asking you this question because what I want to get to is like artists are gonna come up, they're gonna be able, they're gonna succeed, they're gonna fail, they're gonna lose some friends, they're gonna find toxicity around them. So how do they get rid of the negativity? Is basically my question. How do they just
you
keep it
don't,
moving in the face of negativity?
you don't get rid of it. You got to push through it.
Yeah, exactly what
You
I
know,
want to hear.
you mentioned Grant right now, right? Like Grant's not getting the best, treatment right now. He said some stuff online that a lot of people didn't agree with, and he's getting a lot of slack for it. But what people don't get, and what really don't understand, is as you get bigger, and the limelight is more on you. Things you say and things you do matter to a lot more people, and you're under like a microscope. So you say one thing and it blows up. Good, bad, ugly, great. Like, and the media only focuses their attention on what's going to get the ratings up. They're they're not concerned with, um anything else other than that. And I've seen both sides. I've seen both sides. I've seen the sides where the media loves you, and the they're all up behind you. And I've seen scenarios where they want to destroy you.
Right,
And that's been, maybe not in my case, because I wasn't, like, globally recognized like a Usher or Chris Brown, like, who I've been around,
right,
or some of the bigger names. I mean, these guys are under a microscope. It doesn't even have to be them. Somebody in their crew can do something, and the next thing
right.
you know, they're on the headline. It's not the
So
it's not one of the it's not one of their entourage. It's them. Like, I've
right,
been in scenarios where it's like I'm looking at the news and I'm like, that didn't happen. I was there. That didn't happen.
right,
And the headline says different, because all they're doing is they're just looking for ratings. So to answer your question, the hate's gonna come. Do about it. That's the territory. That's it comes with the territory. You want to get
right,
big, you're gonna have to expect the haters. You're gonna have to expect the people who love you, and there's gonna be people who hate you.
right.
And that's for anything.
Yeah, no, I
Look at
definitely
Michael Jackson. Everybody says they love Michael, but at the same time, there were a lot of people that were bashing him. When
true.
certain things came out with kids and stuff like that. There's and you look at Michael and everybody. How could he do wrong? Same thing with Prince. Same thing with other artists. I mean, you have the people that are with them and you have the people that are against them. It comes with it. The bigger you get, expect it.
Yeah, and that's life. It goes up, it goes down. You're gonna have your good times, your bad times. So that's all part of the journey. Definitely all the gems you're dropping today. I hope everyone's listening in. But just to for everyone listening in, what are some last minute tips you have for artists and entrepreneurs and creatives who are coming up? How do you help them to stay persistent and consistent to get their dreams going?
Um, the biggest thing, like, what do you mean?
Well,
What
just
do you
to
mean?
wrap it up, I want just to wrap it up to be, I want you to give a couple tips for like how do you stay consistent? How do you stay persistent? How do you keep on moving, keep it going to get those dreams going and achieve, although in the face of adversity? Maybe you're not seeing your way through it. Maybe you're not seeing the journey coming into what you want to see. But how do you keep that motivation going?
I mean, look, this has been instilled in me. I always tell people I'm like the hardest worker. I work 18-hour days, 7 days a week. Like that's my schedule. I push and I push and I push. It's been instilled in me from my boxing career. I mean, that's all I've known is hard work. I mean, I had an 18-year pro career, and then transitioning over to business, you don't lose that. You don't lose that momentum. You don't lose that energy. You just, it just, you just keep, you put it someplace else. But again, what fuels me and what's always fueled me is my past. Is that I never want to go back to where I once was. And I think that's like always been a part of it. Like deep down, deep down inside, it's always been a fear for me. I never want to fall back on where I once was. Um, so I set my goals huge, not big, huge. I have huge goals, and all I do is just, I mean, it's tunnel vision. I focus. I'm extremely focused, um, and I push. And what I can tell everybody is you have to find what is going to push you, and what's going to push you is not going to be thinking small. What's going to push you is not a five, what everybody says, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like what's going to push you is like, hey, what do you want to be known for? Like what do you want to be, like what do you want to leave behind? A lot of people think about themselves. They're like, hey, I don't need a lot of money because I'm a simple person. Okay, you're thinking about yourself. What about your family? What about your kids? Like what about what happens when you're not around?
Right.
If there's anything that I would say is think big. Think big, and whatever it's going to take for you to get there is not going to be is no, I'm sorry. Think big, because that's what it's going to require for you to work extremely hard to have what it is that you want. That's what
Right,
I
and
can
be
say.
prepared for the future. I love that. No, that definitely some gems that you drop. Danny, I want to say thank you so much for you to coming out tonight. We appreciate everything that you talked about today. Let the listeners know where they can reach you, how can they support you, where can they find you, all that stuff.
Yeah, guys, just I mean, you look for me online. I'm Googleable.
You
I've been
definitely are.
yeah, I've been look, I've been on, I mean, I got 20 years background online, so you guys can, just search my name, and everything that I have going on. Um, any way that I can help, any way that me or my team can help you guys, that's what I'm here for. And thank you, Jennifer, for having me again. And
Oh, of
look
course.
forward to so many more.
Always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. I know Grant Cardone has some events coming up. Did you want to talk about that before you go?
Yeah, we have some boot camps coming up. Like I said, if you guys reach out, just look me up online. You'll find a way to get in contact with me or my team, and we could get you tickets to any upcoming events. We could get you on any of the programs that you guys need. I encourage everybody to explore what it is that we have going on, because it's relatable for everybody and everything. Not just in sales, but or not just in real estate, which is a lot of what people know Grant for now, but just in relation to a lot of things. So yeah, feel free to reach out, and I'm like I said, I'm here to help as many people as possible. So that's what I'm here for.
You really are. You've been a gem, and you're always very supportive. So I gotta just give you a shout out for that. Thank you for being here tonight, and I really appreciate you, Danny. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care, guys.
Always a pleasure. Take care.